Hello again. Today I'm doing something different. I am responding to a tag that Book Lady gave me about the pull 10 books off your shelf and talk about them. This was a little harder because my books are kind of all over the place. I have books on the floor. I have books stacked up over there. I have books everywhere. I have books in boxes. I just wanted to grab like 10 books that I haven't talked about on this channel. Some of them are older, some of them are new. And let me just get into it. Okay, the first one is Dorothy Must Die, which I have talked about in a book haul that I bought some prequels to this, but I really did enjoy this book. This one is Amy Gum, who's the main character of this book, and she comes to Oz. It's not like she remembers in the story. Dorothy's evil, and of course, the title pretty much gives it away, Dorothy Must Die. I really like this book. This is quite a good book, and I actually wound up buying a bunch of the sequels. I don't have the very last one, which I will buy one day. I think it's called The End of Oz. Or Oz, something like that. But I really want to read all of these books. That's the first book I grabbed. A second one I grabbed, which I haven't really talked about, which is In a Dark, Dark Wood. Now, I am not a person who reads a lot of mystery type of books, and I actually got this in my Nocturnal Readers box. But I really enjoyed this. This is a really good book. If you're even not much of a fan of suspense, I would definitely still pick this up because this is a real nice page turner. It supposedly is going to be a major motion picture one day. Reese Witherspoon gives a glowing review, I think, of this book. And I know that Ruth Ware has other books that I may pick up one day because I like this book so much. But this is In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. Next one. Another book that I wanted to read for a while. That is going to become another I can't speak. Is going to become a major motion picture. And that is Meg. So this is by Steve Alton. This is the first book in a bunch of Meg books. I do want to read more of them. About a prehistoric shark in the Mariana Trench. I really enjoyed this book, and I just haven't gotten a chance to pick up the other ones in the series, but I really do want to pick them up. This is a great book. It starts off with a shark and a dinosaur in a fight. Alright. Okay. Here is, of course, I cannot do any kind of books without talking about Stephen King. This one, Joyland, this is a different kind of Stephen King. This is kind of it's in this hard case crime group, which I bought. I think I bought a couple of books like this. I had an ebook, one or two on this in this group. It's kind of it's like a crime story. It's not really a horror story for him. I really liked it. I enjoyed this book. It's a college student, Devin Jones, took the summer job at Joyland, hoping to forget the girl who broke his heart, but he wound up facing something far more terrible: the legacy of a vicious murder, the fate of a dying child, and a dark truth about life, and what comes after that would change his world forever. A riveting story about love and loss and growing up and growing old, and about all those who don't get to do either, because death comes from them before their time. Joyland, at the peak of his storytelling. Let's see. King's masterpieces such as The Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption. Joyland is at once a mystery, a horror story, and bittersweet coming-of-age story that will leave even the most hard-boiled reader profoundly moved. I think this might be one of the books that he didn't put on ebook because he wanted people to buy the paperback. I believe this is one of those books. But again, a good little book if you want to read. Okay. This is actually a non-fiction book. I have a bunch of them, but this one was really good. Called Destiny of the Republic, A Tale of Madness, Medicine, and the Murder of a President. Basically, it's about the assassination about okay, I can't speak. Let's see. The extraordinary New York Times bestseller account of James Garfield's rise from poverty to the American presidency and the dramatic history of his assassination and legacy from best-selling author of The Rise of Doubt. Garfield was one of the most extraordinary men ever elected. Born into poverty, he became a wonder kid scholar in the Civil War. He was shot in the back by a deranged office seeker named Charles Gautier. Garfield survived the attack but became the object of bitter behind-the-scenes struggle for power over his administration, over the nation's future, and over his medical care. The biggest thing about this book that was really cool is how they dealt with the medical care. This man should have lived. If he got shot later on, he would have lived. But because of antiseptic techniques and stuff at that time, it's just a really interesting read, and I would strongly suggest it. It's called Destiny of the Republic. This is an older book that I was pulling out. I was thinking about rereading it one day. This is the old kind of horror that I was talking about. I think this is probably 90s horror. What year is this? This is by John Byrne. If you don't know, he is a comic book writer. This is the 90s, basically. What is this? What year is it? 92. Okay. It's called The Whipping Boy by John Byrne. This is basically about a child that can take away all of your guilt. So it's kind of like, instead of going to a confessional, you go to this boy, and he has this priest kind of father figure with him. And you go to this boy, and all of your sins are kind of wiped away. And basically, he takes on all of your darkest sins, which turns him into a somewhat evil child. It's a really cool book. I liked it. It's definitely a throwaway kind of horror story. Most people wouldn't even talk about it, but I really enjoyed this book. Whipping Boy by John Byrne, if you can even find it anymore. Another book that's been talked about on BookTube a lot, but again, I didn't mention it, was Hex. This is a story about a witch who plagues this town and a curse. And I really like this story. I know some people had issues with it. This was the author. This is actually the author actually took this novel. I forgot what his original language was, but he actually took this Dutch. He's a Dutch author that actually took this novel and converted it to English and changed the ending from the Dutch version. But it's a pretty good book, Hex. I really enjoyed it anyway. Okay, another book, Hatching by Ezekiel Boone. I love this book. I actually just bought the second book in this series. When I get all my books, I'm going to do a book haul on it. But this is really a good book. It's about spiders, basically kind of like a killer spiders that turn into like a kind of end of the world apocalypse type of deal. It's very, for such a short book, it's actually very massive in scope, and covers like 3 or 4 different continents, and these spiders are vicious in this story, and I couldn't praise this highly enough. This is such a thrill ride of a book. If you see this book, pick it up. Hatching by Ezekiel Boone, great book. Okay, this is another controversial book that I picked up. Called The Morgue by Veronica Roth. I never read any of her series of Divergent books, and I know people were upset about the characterizations in these books. I liked it. I mean, it's not a great read, but when a sequel comes out, I'm going to pick it up because I enjoyed this book. I found it pretty enjoyable. I would probably give it like a 3.5 stars. I think this was a nice book. But that's that one. And the last one here I'm going to talk about, which I don't think I talked about before, was Dr. Sleep by Stephen King. In preparation for this book, I reread The Shining, which was great. I listened to it on audio, actually. And this is kind of a sequel to that book, which takes the child from the Shining books, and he's an adult, and there's another kid with the shine, and there's this group that basically I would say eat shiners is kind of a bad word to say. It basically kind of sucks the life out of shiners. You know, people who shine. And the original character from the Shining book, the kid who's now an adult, has to try to save this other kid. And I really enjoyed this book. It's got the whole red rum from the original Shining there in the back. There's a nice callback to the Shining in this book. And those are my 10 books that I pulled off the shelves. Thanks again for tagging me. I'm not going to tag anybody else because I'll just probably mess it up. But I appreciate the video and hope to see you soon. Bye.